Hey everybody, it's Saturday afternoon and I've been standing here enjoying my new native tank for a little while, but it's really missing something. I did throw a few of the catappa leaves in there. I believe that's how that's pronounced. You can see all three of them lying right up front. And that really does make a big difference. The crayfish seem to like hiding under them. The fish even will swim underneath of them and hang out around there, depending on where they are and what position they've moved into, depending on the current or where the crayfish actually move them. So as much as I like the natural look of this tank and as much as I like the sort of clean look to this tank, I don't think it's going to be possible that we're ever really going to have any living plants in here, although I do have some ideas, so we'll have to wait and see how that works out. But one thing I do miss in this tank, and I think the crayfish miss it too, is a bunch of sticks and twigs and woodwork and leaf litter and stuff like that is on the bottom. You will generally find crayfish hanging around in environments like that, and even the fish like to get down into the sticks and twigs and stuff, and it makes for good cover for them. So I don't think I want to put a bunch of leaves in there and have, leaf litter per se. Maybe if I find a few leaves that are, big full-size leaves, I'm not just going to grab a handful of the broken up, mucky, broken leaves that are at the bottom of a little bit of a deep depression in the water somewhere. We will maybe find something that's more attractive. It is the autumn time of year, and we might be able to find a few brightly colored leaves. And of course, I want to find a bunch of sticks and twigs and little bits of woodwork that might go in there. So we're going to strap the old boots on, and we are going to go down the street. We're not going to go far today. My truck is on the fritz. I got to get it into the shop by Monday morning. Hopefully it won't be anything too costly to get sorted out, but in the meantime, I'm on a very, very limited driving range, so I feel comfortable going down the street, and that's about it. So we'll check out the little stream. We'll see what kind of sticks, twigs, leaves, etc. we can find, and then we will come back and put them in here and see what it looks like.
Alright, I guess we should go down right here and then get right to the water. And we're not looking for anything big, we're not looking for anything particularly fancy, just little sticks and branches like that, maybe something a little more interesting if I can find it. And again, maybe we can find a smattering of leaves to take back with us or something. We can do that too. But I'm definitely going to want branches that are already saturated. They're just going to go right in the tank and sink. And at some point we'll come across a little area where there's a bunch of them piled up, I'm sure. And that's my goal. I don't want to pick up a stick here and there. I want to grab a handful of sticks and put them in my bucket. We could do something like this. That's a bigger stick. I could break up into some smaller pieces if I needed to. That's a bit on the large size, but we don't have to use the whole thing. That's what I'm looking for. Interesting. Not straight twigs, but something that's got a little bit of character to it. Now, of course, having a few basic straight branches in there will be important too, But I definitely want some stuff in there that's going to have some character. Alright, this is what I was talking about. I figured we'd find a spot where there'd be a pile of branches and stuff to root through. Oh, that is some muddy stuff. Again, probably a bit big, but I like it. For as much stuff as is here, I'm not really seeing anything that's jumping out at me. I'm not even going to try to walk back into that. Alright, let's see what this piece looks like. It's almost a sort of piece of bark, but it is actually the remains of a piece of wood. So we'll take that. I like that. See, the good thing about doing this is these are just pieces of wood. If I get them home, I don't like them, can't use them, they don't work in the tank, just throw them away. It's just, you know, throw them out in the woods in front of the house. So it's not like I'm making a big investment here. Oh, I like that. It's like a cross between a cane and a shillelagh. Some of these bigger ones I might give a little scrub brush down when I get them home, just so we can get a better look. You notice how the sticks are getting bigger and bigger every time I pick another one up. Gotta start scaling down again, thinking smaller. No, it's not exactly smaller. All right, I think that will do it for now. I think we'll still have the opportunity at some point to get out to the reservoir and find a really nice sort of specimen piece of wood, you know, I don't know if specimen is the right word, but the centerpiece, that's the word I'm looking for. So, you know, a really nice ornate piece of wood that we can put in the tank and won't just look like debris and litter on the bottom. It'll actually look like it's meant to be there for something. So let's see what we got going on down here real quick. No, it doesn't look like anything. I can't go any further, it gets too deep because of this sort of natural dam right there, but I don't see anything in here that's jumping out at me either, which is all I was really coming down here to have a look at. Little birds in that bush over there. It's a noisy little thing. All right, let's start making our way back to the truck. And I will see about grabbing a few more colorful bits of leaves that we can throw in there too. Well, not exactly colorful, but it's a fully intact leaf. It'll look nice. I'd love to be able to take that home. Look at that, with the grass and all the moss growing on it. That looks awesome. Let's put a big old leaf in there. See what that looks like. All right, everybody, I think we're gonna call that good. And we're gonna make our way on back out of here. So I will see you all back at the tank.
And just as a reminder, here's what it looks like before we've added the sticks and twigs. Alright, so that's what it looks like now, and I like it. It looks a lot better. I'm really happy with the way it turned out. I didn't do anything super creative with the sticks or anything. I didn't spend a lot of time fussing around with getting them in any kind of proper position or anything. I did sort of make sure this larger, broader piece wasn't, you know, flatly covering any of the larger rocks. I still do want to try to see some of the rocks that we can see through there a little bit. The fish absolutely love it. You can see how they've all sort of migrated down to the lower part of the tank and are swimming around sort of within the confines of where the sticks and branches and everything are. That's what I said. The fish will like this as much as the crayfish. It provides them with a nice source of cover. So we'll have a little bit more of a look into the tank in a moment. I did grab a few leaves from out in the yard, so I figured they would float this time of year. I got the inspiration while we were down at the stream. There's a lot of leaves floating on the surface of the water now anyway, so maybe as time goes on, we'll throw a few more leaves from the yard in here, and we will get to see them floating on the surface for a while. And as time goes on, they'll eventually sink and add to the leaf litter down there in the bottom. But if you'll notice, I've got this piece of poster board or whatever that is back there, and you can see how much water is splashed up against it. That's the reason I have it there. I've got this awful wood paneling down here in the basement, and if that stuff gets wet, that's not a good thing to be doing, and I get a lot of splashing from this. So what I normally do when I'm not shooting video is I take a piece of my batting that I use for my filter material, and I do that. So I'm getting the same amount of water flow. I usually don't do it quite this much, so I will get at least a little bit of babbling water noise, a little bit of break into the surface tension, and it reduces the amount of splashing I get almost completely. You can see there's a few little splashes, but I don't care about the splashes that splash forward. I don't want it splashing back against the wall, and that's how I normally do it. So I take that off when I want to shoot video of it. I honestly don't really care about it when I come stand here and enjoy the tank myself. I don't really feel a need to take that down to visualize what I'm looking at. That's just fine with me right there. And as time goes on, we will think of something we can do to fix that. I might try to get some creeping Jenny growing over it, but if I can get some sort of plants established up there, I may redo the way the fountain comes out across the piece of wood. I don't know, but a nice easy temporary fix is just hanging a piece of that batting over it, and that reduces my splashing. So that's why we did that. I wanted to take care of that before we got back to looking at the tank. So I've noticed in the last few minutes that I've been standing here looking at the tank that the crayfish seem to be a lot more active. Even when I was putting the leaves and everything in the tank, the crayfish didn't really seem to mind. It almost seems like the movement of the leaves and the branches is sort of the natural type movement that would occur in their environment as sticks or branches come floating down in the current. And it was only when my hand would come near them or I would physically walk in front of them that they would seem to be disturbed. So the branches and everything moving around in there actually seemed to get them more interested in coming out and crawling around. Of course, now that I say that, I only see this one, and I don't see any of the others in there crawling around. Of course, me waving that big white thing around above their heads might have scared them. I can see one in the back corner. I can see the reflection in the glass. I'm not 100% sure how I feel about this one. I broke the end of it off because it would have been too long to be in here anyway, and the one end actually floats. But this is the piece that looks sort of like a shillelagh. I did scrub it with the scrub brush and the garden hose. That was the extent of my cleaning of everything. I took the scrub brush and all of the sort of larger pieces, you know, stuff like this size and smaller, I mean larger, you know, and of course this big piece here, all of that got sort of scrubbed down roughly with a scrub brush underneath the garden hose. And then when I got to the smaller, more delicate branches, I just kind of used my hand and sort of rinsed them off underneath the garden hose and just got all of the main bulk of the mud and dirt and crud and everything off of there. As far as sterilizing it, not at all, not in any way is it sterilized. I don't know if you saw that little crayfish sort of disappear back under there. I don't know if we'll be able to see him under there or not, but a little one just crawled underneath that piece of wood. So I didn't sterilize anything. There's probably still going to be algae. If there's any insects or bugs or anything that have bored down inside the wood and gotten into the wood itself, then that's certainly going to be here. But as far as dirt, crud, any sort of macro crustaceans like snails, or, you know, I didn't see any leeches or anything like that, but if there was something large like that on there, I would have brushed that off with the scrub brush, and that would have not been introduced into the tank. But otherwise, everything else may have been. But these fish also just came from the wild a few days ago, and so did the crayfish. Pretty much everything in this tank is sort of quarantine at the same time that it's being set up and established. I have checked the ammonia and the nitrite levels on a few occasions, and they are all either no change whatsoever, or one time I did get, the day after I put all these fish in here, I did get a slight change in color on the ammonia test, but that was it. It was just a slightest change. It didn't even quite look like it made it all the way to 0.25 parts per million, so I didn't worry about it. When the next day I checked it again, I was back to no color change at all. So I'm calling the tank cycled and good and ready to go. All we need to do now is just sit back and enjoy it and watch the fish grow up. Of course, the gambusia in there, all those little dull looking, guppy looking fish, they're not going to get any bigger, but the minnows might. And I'm a little bummed out, I will say, that you can see a minnow here, a minnow there swimming around. They don't really school together as tightly as I was hoping they would, and you can kind of see why. There's really no need to. They don't, you know, they school together in the wild for protection. And not only are there no predators in this tank, there's plenty of cover, and there's more gambusia than there are of their own kind. So they're more likely to just sort of stay with the gambusia and sort of stay lost in the crowd than they are to pack tightly together. So again, kind of disappointed in that. I was hoping to see them swimming around in a nice tight school. But who knows, as time goes on, we'll see what happens. Every time I come over here and try to get a little better look at that crayfish, he always goes back into his little cave. So he's got the swing spot right there. That's the prime real estate, because if you go back in, he's got a couple extra apartments in the back. I don't know if he sublets them or not, but there's the bricks that are stacked up or lined up holding this up. I've got the holes from the bricks lined up so he can go all the way through, and it's sort of like a couple of twin tunnels that go out the back of his little house there. And again, he could rent them out as, you know, sublet them as apartments or something. I don't know the zoning laws inside the tank or whatever. They'll have to sort them out themselves. Anyway, I'm going to call that the end of this video. I'm really happy with the way this turned out. I knew it would look better with the sticks in there. I was kind of on the fence about putting leaves in, but I'm really glad I did, because it really does look a whole lot better, and I'm happy with it. So I hope you like it. Hope you enjoyed that little outing, that video. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. I'll see you real soon in the next one.